Good afternoon. Since we're sharing stories about the last time that we were here, the last time that I was in this building was just a couple months ago, and I had hopefully nobody in the audience knew, but I had a wardrobe malfunction where the elastic band on my pants just went in the middle of the speech, and I was sort of holding my pants for the rest of the time. And somebody said to me after, "That's sort of a weird, nervous twitch you have on the side." I said, "Actually, it was because my pants were about to fall down." So who knows what's going to happen today? I figure it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the last session. I can share something slightly humorous. Okay, so I'm going to switch things up a bit. It's time to rethink how we frame our environmental messages. So my research is mainly based around social psychology and marketing principles, and I'll give you an example of some of the work that I do. So how many cell phones do you have at home that you're not using right now? One, if you have one at home, 2, 3, more than 3? They're in your drawer? Yeah, they're just sitting in your drawer. And why are they in your drawer? Someone tell me why your phone's just in your drawer. Sorry, e-waste? Because you don't want to throw it out? Why else? Sorry? Okay, you haven't extracted the info. That's a common thing. Like, oh, or I might need that backup info. My backup of my backup might fail. Or some people, it's sentimental value. Some people don't know where to take it. So there's lots of reasons. So I try to unpack all of these reasons and then try to reduce those barriers and try to get people, for example, if we're working on trying to get people to recycle their phones or reuse them or get them reconditioned, how can we get them to take them out of the drawers? What do we have to do? Do we have to make them feel safer that when they drop it off, whatever they're dropping it off, that their data isn't going to be extracted and used for something else? If that's an issue, then how can we get around that? So that's just one example, and we work with the CWTA with Professor Steve Young and one of our grad students on a similar project. So there are lots of different ways we can create change, and I'm sure you've heard a number of different ways today. We've got regulations and standards, best practice, engaging market systems, as we've talked about, some of the other speakers have talked about. We need that supply and demand. We need both sides. We need innovative design, and another component is the behavior change. So we need this technology, but we also need people to be behaving in a more sustainable fashion. So that's the part that I focus on. So that's mostly what I'm going to focus on today. So some of you have probably seen this before. It's a diffusion of innovation curve. It's Everett Rogers came up with this in 1962. And it actually was originally, I always thought it was related to marketing because I'm a marketing person, we use it a lot. But it actually was founded in rural sociology. And the first example of it was trying to figure out how farmers adopted new technology. So they noticed that there was an S curve sort of in the diffusion of how different products and services were innovated. So we have this distribution curve on the left are sort of the innovators and the early adopters, and then we get the early majority, the late majority, and then the laggards. I don't really like the term laggards because it sort of has a negative connotation. Some people consciously choose not to adopt certain products or services, so they're not necessarily a laggard in the traditional sense. I have no idea why that says page 297. I'm curious to know. There are not 297 slides, don't worry. So within this the distribution curve, we have what's called the chasm, and it's around 12% if you're looking at the percentage of adoption of a product or service. So if we can get past this chasm, this is what usually happens in the chasm, it just falls. So we have a product or service that's launched, the early adopters get on, the innovators come on board, and then it gets to a certain point, and boom, it sort of drops off. How do we get the early majority and the late majority on board so that we can get the mainstream population to adopt this particular product or service, or in my case, a specific behavior? So we could be talking about big picture things, like how do we encourage businesses to embrace the circular economy. In my case, mostly I'm talking about individual change. So how do we get people to use reusable water bottles, for example? Okay, so these are 5 things that we need to get right about the way we're framing environmental messages. Not just environmental messages, but to encourage environmental change. So first thing is that we need to recognize that only 20% of the population is strongly motivated by environmental factors. So most people, they might be sort of interested. If you look at the survey statistics by Environics or any of the Ipsos Reid market research polls, 80% of Canadians or 90% of Canadians are concerned about the environment. But 90% of Canadians aren't driving Priuses or biking to work. So there's this attitude and tension gap. But 20% of people are strongly motivated by the health of the planet. The Natural Marketing Institute, and there's various ways we could segment this. This is just one example. They've adopted 5 shades, or identified 5 shades of green consumers. So the LOHAs is a lifestyle of health and sustainability. Those are the greeny greens. They're interested in environmental issues, health issues. They will pay a premium for products. They're generally, often they're sort of a 30, 35 female with a young family. That's sort of the typical demographic. And then we have so those are that's that 20% that will pay the premium, that will buy the green product, even if it doesn't work as well as some of the others. Naturalites is the next one. They're more concerned about health impacts. So they're the ones the mums that buy the organic food for their babies, but they're not as interested in it for environmental reasons, but they want their babies to be strong and healthy. Then we have the drifters, and this is a really important segment for marketers and for when you're trying to sell a green product, because they'll go where the wind is taking them. So if the wind is taking them to a green place, then they'll go there. So other market research companies call these people aspirationals. Then we have the conventionals that are predominantly motivated by money, in the sense that if they can save money on their electricity bill and so forth, then they might adopt the change. And then you have the unconcerns. Some of those are the Tea Party. Some of those are the people that I saw tweeting how, anti-World Environment Day messages that I won't repeat. And some of them are just because they have so much other stuff going on that they just don't have time to be concerned about the environment, because they're just trying to put a roof over their head or find food for the table. So unconcerns is not just because they're anti-environment. So that's the first thing, is that you've got to remember that 80% of the population is not probably going to react to the environmental message. The second one is, don't assume that information leads to action. So I've got a little video here that I hope works. If it doesn't, we'll just carry on and I can mime it for you. Okay, let's see. Whoop, or not. You just maybe have to, yeah, okay. And then, yeah, maybe just full screen it, thanks. Flip it back to the next one. So the main point I wanted to get across there is every adult knew what the health risks were of smoking, and yet they were smoking at the time that they were talking about all of these health risks. So information was not the issue. That was not the reason that they were smoking. There are other issues there. So we assume if we tell people what the problem is, they will react accordingly. And for the 20% of the population, they probably will, but the other 80% likely won't. So we have to get beyond just giving them information. Information is important, and then we need to know where to buy things, what the impacts of different things are, but it's not going to be the only thing that's going to motivate people. Abandoning scare tactics is the third one. So I see this all the time, and even on World Environment Day, it was the same thing. There were more messages about polar bears on ice floes because the Arctic ice is melting. And I get it. It's very scary. It's important that we need to do something about it. But the scare tactics aren't working, and it's because there are neuroscience reactions in our brain that for some people, when they hear this information, they actually will go and do the exact opposite of what you want them to do. So when they're faced with their own mortality, and this has been proven in not just related to environmental issues, but other things, they will actually turn around and instead of buying a Prius, they'll buy a gas guzzling truck. I didn't want to point out like GMC or Ford or Chevy, any of the new ones, so I just picked an old truck and it matched the Prius color. So some people, when they find out that like the Prius has low gas mileage, etc., they will go out and buy that. But other people, because of all the information they're getting, they will actually turn and do the complete opposite and sort of have that live for today. I just need to live for today because there's nothing I can do about it. What can I do about the ice floes in the Arctic and the little polar bears or the big polar bears floating around? There's nothing I can do. The problem is so big, I don't know what to do personally, so I'm just going to forget about it. Number 4, design cool things that just happen to be good for the environment. There are a lot of green things out there. There are not a lot of cool green things out there. And we also went through a phase where there were things like low-flush toilets and low-flow shower heads that didn't quite work as well as the traditional ones. But the Tesla, it's cool. It's the 3rd fastest production car ever built. So the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, I'm not sure if it's in that order, and the Tesla has the 3rd fastest torque ever built. It is a green car. They do not sell it as green, though. They sell it as a cool car. They sell it as a status symbol. So when I talk about, let's just design things that are cool, let's think about the cool factor. And guess what? They just happen to be good for the environment. Hopefully they won't all cost $80,000. But Tesla is coming out with its lower cost version, so we'll see how that goes. But we need more of that. So if anybody else has some really cool product ideas that they have purchased or they've seen, tell me about them, because I'd love to increase my repository of really cool green design ideas. And 5, and this is probably one of the most important, is using the power of social norms to create change. And as social marketers, this is something that we use a lot, and it's very effective. Where do you think this picture was taken? Sorry? Yes, that's right. It was a rock concert. Most people, when I show them that, they say like a landfill in a developed country. But it was the Glastonbury Music Festival in the UK. So it's one of the largest music festivals in the world. About 100,000 people go there. But this is what's left at the end of it. And this is a social norm. They'll literally buy stuff for the event. They'll leave it there. And then they'll just walk home. So they'll buy a tent. They'll buy chairs, they'll buy sleeping bags, they just leave it there and walk away. So this is a camping area. Now we're on page 309. Isn't that interesting? I guess this must be of all the slides today, maybe. Is that? I don't know. Okay, so this one is actually the Panama, I think it's a festival called Panama. That's what it's called, a festival called Panama in Australia. 1,400 people, so much smaller scale than the 100,000. But what you see on the table is what was left in the campgrounds. So you can actually see this video online. They're searching for waste, and they're literally like kind of going through the grass trying to pick up waste. There's a glass, there's a few, they see like part of a Pokemon card, a few bits of paper, a receipt from Home Depot and so forth, and that's it. So 2 music festivals, probably different types of music, so different types of people going, but it's a norm, right? At this place, at the second place, it's not acceptable, socially acceptable, to just leave everything on the ground, and they probably have good systems in place. So we can do things one way, we can do the other, but all of this is about behavior change. It's not about technology, it's not about regulations, it's about behavior change and social norms and getting people on board, using messages that will be effective for them. So we've had an exciting past few days. These are some of my students that we were at the Jack Johnson. Does anybody know Jack Johnson? He's a musician from Hawaii. He was at the Bud Stage, which was formerly the Molson Amphitheater in Toronto. He was there a few days ago, and he's the UNEP Goodwill Ambassador. So he was asked to be the official sort of opener for World Environment Day. So we had these extra celebrations at the concert that night. And they asked us to come do a booth on plastic straws. So it was very specific, trying to get people to not use plastic straws and to try to think about alternatives or saying no to plastic straws when they don't need them. So I had my students there, and that's Jack in the middle. And does anybody recognize the guy to the left of Jack? Any Entourage fans here? No? No one's watched Entourage. No, that's one of the main actors in Entourage. I didn't know his name either, but they kept talking about this. Adrian Grenier is going to be there. I'm like, I don't know. But apparently that's him. So he has a foundation called the Lonely Whale Foundation. So they're both, Jack and Adrian do a lot of work related to getting plastics out of the ocean. So we were trying to do a display on that. So you see a little turtle at the front, and we're getting people to try to make commitments to not use plastic straws. And draw their little messages. So that was what we did, and my students just sent me that just before today, saying they just posted this on Instagram. They were very excited. That is Catherine McKenna. Yep, she was there too. Well spotted. Yeah, so that was great that they all came and we had a good time. And that was our poster. So we tried to make it light instead of talking about the turtle with its straw in its nose. Has anybody seen that video? There's a video that sort of went viral of these students from California who found this turtle and pulled a plastic straw out of its nose. And so they said, we don't want messages like that. We want to sort of keep it lighter. So we tried to add some humor to it as well. So I do a lot of music. I do a lot of research in the music industry. You wouldn't think that music and sustainability go together as a research field, but the music industry has environmental impacts just like any other industry, and so I work with a company called Live Nation, which is a music promoter, and some musicians to try to encourage that. So the use of celebrities can help if you find the right celebrity and if they're really sincere about what they're doing. I saw some of the posts on World Environment Day on Twitter. Some people were saying, that's great that Leonardo DiCaprio is saying this and that, but he just flew in his private jet to do this and that. So they want people to be sincere. Okay, so moving things forward, just back to the beginning, we need all these 4 parts to work together. And my part is the bottom right quadrant, but we need everything, and we need cool things. So go out, if you have anything to do with design, go out and design cool things. And if you do any communication or messaging related to the environment, try to keep in mind some of the things that we talked about today. Thank you.